Welcome explorers! Today we are venturing into one of Azeroth's regions whose landscape has been most affected by the cataclysm, the Thousand Needles. Before the cataclysm turned this desert canyon into a watery labyrinth, it was a stark, arid region with towering rock spires that seemed to defy the very forces of erosion. But what geological secrets hide in this windswept canyon? How did the sands and spires came to be? And how do they reflect real-world geology? Let's uncover the stories etched into the rocks of this fascinating landscape. The Southern Needles is a region defined by its towering rock formations, which stretch skyward from the desert floor like ancient sentinels. But how did these formations come to exist? To understand their origin, we need to explore sedimentology, the study of how sedimentary rocks are formed. In Azeroth, the spires of the Southern Needles likely began as sedimentary deposits, layered over time in a vast, shallow, marine or lacustrine, that's lake-based, environment. Picture this region millions of years ago, a warm, shallow sea or an expansive saltwater lake, much like the shallow waters of the Caribbean or the Great Salt Lake in Utah. Over time, layers of sand, silt, and minerals were deposited by water, forming sedimentary rocks like sandstone and limestone. But what's particularly fascinating here is the environment of deposition. If these rocks were marine in origin, they might hold the fossils of ancient creatures that once swam in these waters. Imagining the creatures that may have inhabited the World of Warcraft in the ancient past is a great example of how well-tailored fantasy worlds challenges our imagination. Alternatively, if the deposits were lacustrine, we'd see evidence of calm inland lake processes, likely interspersed with evaporitic deposits like gypsum or halite, hinting at periods of drying. Either way, the Southern Needles' origin story begins with sediment slowly building up in water. Fast forward eons, and that calm, watery environment is long gone. Enter the forces of erosion. After tectonic uplift or the draining of the water body, the sedimentary layers were exposed to the harsh elements of the desert. Wind, rain, and temperature fluctuations began carving away at the rock. The iconic spires of the Southern Needles are the result of differential erosion, a process where softer rock layers erode faster than the harder, more resistant layers. Over time, wind-driven sand and rare flash floods scour the rock, leaving behind the isolated, slender spires we see today. These formations might remind you of the buttes and mesas of the North American Southwest, like those in Monument Valley. The Thousand Needles and Monument Valley share striking similarities in their towering spires and rugged, eroded landscapes, both shaped by sedimentary rocks and millions of years of erosion. Monument Valley's formation were sculpted by wind and water slowly eroding layers of sandstone, leaving behind iconic mesas and buttes. The Thousand Needles, however, takes this concept to an extreme, with impossibly slender spires dominating the region. In a magically enhanced fantasy world, intense winds, accelerated water flows, and extreme temperature fluctuations could drastically amplify erosion, carving rock at an unnatural pace. This magical weather could explain the exaggerated, otherworldly formations unique to Azeroth. You might also think of the rock spires of Cappadocia in Turkey. However, these formations are volcanic in origin. Soft, tuff and ash deposits harden into rock before being sculpted by erosion. The Thousand Needles lacks that volcanic genesis, making its formation entirely sedimentary and erosional, a testament to the power of time and the elements. Southeast of the towering spires of the Thousand Needles lies another geological marvel, the Shimmering Flats. Before the cataclysm, this flat, white expanse was a salt pan, an ancient seabed now dry and barren. This is a textbook example of an evaporite basin, where a body of water, likely saline, once existed but later dried up under a hot, arid climate. This salt-encrusted surface is reminiscent of Earth's great salt flats like Salar de Uyuni in Bolivia or the Bonneville Salt Flats in the US. In these environments, seasonal rains replenish shallow lakes, but the water quickly evaporates, leaving behind thick crusts of salt and other minerals like gypsum. The Shimmering flats likely form in much the same way. This dry, cracked expanse speaks to a time when the area was part of a shallow inland sea, or perhaps a series of saline lakes. As the climate shifted or the water was cut off from its source, evaporation left behind this gleaming, desolate plain. From a world-building perspective, the Shimmering Flats is a goldmine of ideas. How do its salt impact the surrounding ecosystem? What stories could its ancient seabed tell about the region's history? And, in a fantasy setting, how might magic interact with the minerals in these deposits? These are the questions that make the Thousand Needles an endlessly fascinating place for storytellers. This region offers countless possibilities. How might your landscapes shift from sea to desert over millennia? What unique ecosystems, fossils, or civilizations could thrive in such a harsh yet beautiful environment? And how might magic or other fantastical forces accelerate or alter these processes? The Thousand Needles is more than a questing region. It's a masterclass in geological storytelling. Its spires teach us about sediment deposition, uplift, and the relentless forces of erosion. Its salt flats tell a tale of a vanished sea, a stark reminder of how landscapes transform over time. The Thousand Needles stands as a testament to the power of nature, both real and fantastical. From the ancient forces that shape its towering spires to the shimmering flats that whispers of a vanished sea, this landscape tells a tale of transformation. But in a world of magic, perhaps these processes aren't just natural. What if enchanted storms, elemental forces, or the will of ancient beings shape these awe-inspiring formations? These landscapes remind us that in Azeroth, geology and magic intertwine, creating wonders far beyond our world. Until the next time, adventurers, keep exploring the mysteries of the land and the stories they hold.